This video will show how to start a new ShipWeight project. So first thing we do is to double click on the ShipWeight icon to launch the program, and the first thing that pops up is the login dialog. Now in the login dialog we have the username, which is not your Windows user but your ShipWeight user, and the corresponding password. So you need to know the password and type in the password to start the program. Now below the username and password we have a selection of systems, and these are the main ShipWeight systems that you can use, and usually it will be the default ShipWeight system or the ShipWeight system. So whatever you select here will determine the main ShipWeight structure that you open the software with. So now let's just go for the standard ShipWeight structure. Then we have a checkbox which asks you if you want to open the last project or not. So now I've entered in the username and password and selected my system, and I can click OK now to launch the executable itself. Now you can see ShipWeight opened up with no project loaded, so it's just the empty main window we see here. And to start a new project we have to either go to the project menu and select new, or we can go to the toolbar and find the new button on the toolbar and click this one, and the project info dialog pops up. There's two mandatory fields in the project info dialog that needs to be filled out if you want to start a new project. The first thing you have to do is to select the project database. This is the place to store the new project. So you could either select this from an already existing project database from the drop list of this field, or you can type in a new database ID, for example demo2. Now if you type in a new database ID, this will actually create a new database on the SQL server, and for this to be executed successfully you need to have permissions to start a new database on the SQL server, and not every user necessarily will have this permission. So if you don't have that permission you have to select one of the pre-existing projects. The next field, the project ID, is the ID of your project, and you can type in anything as long as it is unique. So for example we can go here with project 8500 for example, and now this ID will be the ID for my new project, and everything I do in ShipWeight will be connected now to this project ID. The next fields here, parent ID, we will skip for now and get back to that later. And then we have a field here called name, so we just type in a name for the vessel, and the name can be changed at any time. The project ID cannot be changed once you've started the project. Then we have some other optional information that we can give in if we want to, for example owner, main type, let's do this, let's make a tanker, and subtype, we're going to do a tanker for oil here, and then build year, registration person, date, and some other fields here. The frame spacing field at the end here is a bit important, because this will allow us to include frame spacing in the input and use frame spacing instead of position when we enter in position for location of an item in the X direction. And this can be given in, for example, if we have a frame spacing of 0.7 meter, just put in 0.7 and then a frame. Now if we have dynamic frame spacing, let's say for example it starts at 0.65 and has that up until frame 25, then we type frame 25, then we can do a semicolon, and now maybe it goes up to 0.7 meters all the way to frame 90, and then another semicolon to show that we're now changing the frame spacing again. So maybe we go down to 0.6 and then the frame sign, pound sign, to show that now this goes for the rest of the vessel. Now the tooltips here will show you an example of coding for this dynamic frame spacing, and also anytime in ShipWeight you can click the F1 button, which will launch the context sensitive help file. So in this case it will bring up the project info dialog, and you should be able to find here examples of how to set the frame spacing. So the frame spacing is sort of the one special field which has a certain logic connected to it. The others are just information. Finally, at the end here we can see that we can change between metric and US imperial units for our unit settings. This is shown to start in a new project just for convenience, but you can change these units anytime you want to. So for now let's just leave it to metrics, and then we can change it to a different unit later. When I now click OK, my new project will start. And now I'm asked to choose the main weight group for my new project, and in most cases I will just leave this for the default, which is displacement. I do have some other options here if I want to use a project that only is going to consider parts of the vessel. I can go down and select one of the subgroups, but for now let's just click displacement and use the whole work breakdown structure, and this is what you normally will do. The next dialog that pops up is the parameter dialog, and this parameter dialog will now just pop up so you can enter in the main parameters that's currently available for your project. Again, this is a dialog that you can pop up anytime you want to add more parameters. So right now I will just enter in the length of the vessel and the beam of the vessel and the depth to the uppermost continuous deck and the draft, and let's put in the main engine power and number of main engines and so forth, whatever you have. Now if you see, some of these grids have a green icon to the right of the cell, for example here for the block coefficient. Now if I know the block coefficient I can type it in directly, but a green icon to the right of the number means that if I don't know the number, I have a small calculator that can help me find this number. So if I click here on the green icon, it pops up a dialog, composite parameter dialog, which allows me to now enter in other parameters to help me calculate, in this case, the block coefficient. So let's put in 12,000 displacement. and maybe 14,000, and then let the displacement, the length, beam, and scantling draft calculate the block coefficient for me. Now I can continue to enter in more of these parameters, but for now I'm going to close this dialog, and now I have my new project started here. It's been entered with some project information, which I can see here to the right here, and I have my main parameters to the right here, and I have my main subis group right here. Now the information that I just entered can easily be opened again by clicking on the links of the headers of the project information here, for example, if I want to add in more or parameters, if I have more parameters to enter in. So this I can do at any stage, and units I can go to view and options, for example, to change units from metric to US. But right now I have accomplished what I wanted to do, which is to start a new ShipWeight project. So now I'm ready to start entering in items and values and get the weights for this project.